areas, admitting young people, young females in the Nigeria Academy, Defense Academy, and long list of all Mr. President has done for us, for which we are very grateful. And like I said, we've screamed that in the global community. And that was why during this Global Power Women Network second high-level meeting, the women of Africa did not hesitate, did not look twice before in unison, nominating Mr. President for their Pioneer Award of Global Women Advancement Award. It's the first time it's being given out. And so Mr. President becomes the sole and pioneer recipient of that award put together by women of Africa. And so it's a huge testimony. It's the first of its kind on this continent. And we from Nigeria are very happy and grateful that our president has been so recognized. It's a major statement to the global community from Africa.
The aim of Global Power Africa is getting to zero. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, you see, in getting to zero, we're also talking about achieving the MDGs on the continent. We're talking of Africa lifting and taking its pride place among the Committee of Nations. We're talking about sustainability of the African people. We don't want our people to die from HIV and AIDS. We don't want our people to die from hunger. We don't want our people to die of poverty and diseases, tuberculosis, malaria, and all other diseases. So we are targeting, we are encouraging everybody to be on board so that we achieve zero new infections of HIV, zero death from TB, malaria, and other diseases, zero to, getting to zero to poverty, and, and then zero to hunger. All this helping to further empower the woman and therefore the family, because the woman is at the center of every family.
What is the target time for, because what we're talking about now is total elimination of all of these ills that you mentioned. What's the target date that we're looking at? And is it possible?
We cannot give the world a target date, like you asked. We can't give a target to the world because in encouraging, what we are trying to do is putting in place strategies to accelerate discussions and implementations of all this. Global Power cannot, come up to say, oh, we are eradicating diseases. I mean, that is not,
But the MDGs, for example, have a target.
That's what I'm saying. So Global Power will not give the world a target because even if we try to propose one, we don't have the signatures of the heads of government. So what we're doing is trying to engage them, to encourage them to do what they have to do.
What is the nexus between violence and violence against women and HIV infections?
Yes, violence against women is part of what we are talking about. In fact, zero to violence against women and girls. When rape is part of violence, and when someone infected with HIV rapes, of course, the chances are it's all there, and that's why we're crying against that one. And other issues, even domestic violence. We've all found out from research shows that domestic violence is about over 60% of violence cases, but it's just that people tend not to report. Yes, because violence is not just fighting. It's verbal violence, it's all sorts. The threats, and of course the physical one. And then any other behavior that will put somebody under pressure, like you don't want to do this, you have to do this, you don't have to do that. And for partners in the relationship, the issue of sex and pressure around sex is part of it. Even the issue of, we talked about rape, in the homes, in offices and all that, young girls, infants, everybody. So all these could facilitate or predispose an individual to contracting HIV and AIDS from a partner or from somebody else that is infected. And that is part of why we are saying, in battling HIV and AIDS, let's put an end to violence so that whether it's true, there will be no occasion of body fluids being interchanged among people, whether in the use of syringes, whether in the use of mouth-to-mouth contact, or whether it's in the anal and vaginal contacts and all that. So penile contacts too. So anything that will cause abrasion that will lead to exchange of fluids. So those are, situations that can predispose an individual to contracting HIV. And once the HIV virus is contracted, we begin to look out for the full-blown AIDS.
How can we improve access to reproductive health and sexual health services for women?
Well, again, it's through education, commitment of governments. Different declarations have set targets in terms of percentage budget to be for nations to put into healthcare services that will include that of reproductive health services, training of manpower, personnel, providing materials they will need, and a whole lot of other things. So it will need government support and commitment. It will need political will. It will need the personnel to also behave themselves, because many times people are trained to do whatever they are supposed to do. You get to the hospitals, they abandon patients, they don't do what they're supposed to do, they don't even advise people. We need to train our people, we need to train counselors. Many people who are supposed to be counseled are left like that without being counseled on the implications of the actions to be taken or actions taken before. You find out that even in some hospitals, people who are supposed to be well trained will go test HIV, test people for HIV without counseling. Because for a professional thing like HIV, you're supposed to do a pre-test counseling so that you talk to the individual, prepare his mind about whatever results will come out. Tell him the implications, whatever HIV could do. Teach him about HIV. Tell him or her the implications of HIV if he's positive. Teach him the implication if he's negative. Tell him what to do if when the test is released, test result is released. Tell him what to do after that. If you're positive, this is the next step. If you're negative, this is the next step. So in that case, you reduce the psychological trauma that the individual faces when you just splash the results, at him, which is what we try to tell our medical personnel in hospitals and elsewhere. People just think doing HIV test is a money-making thing, without looking at the human aspect, without considering the individual, without considering the psychological torture an individual and his or her family will go through while waiting for the test result. But if you had done the pre-test counseling, it takes time, a little time, because, many people don't do it because it will reduce the number of patients they will have to attend to. But that is not what it's supposed to be. We should add some human face to this making of money in health institutions. So if you prepare the individual's mind before you take him through a test, you would have solved a lot of problem for him. Reduce his anxiety, his blood pressure thing, and and then he'll be more prepared to take on the consequences of the results he's expecting.
We'll take a break now. We'll be back in a short while.
From one nation to another, there must be a meeting point. Their ideas may be different, but they must work to agree on what's best for the people. Diplomatic Channel untangles the discussions to bring out what's really important. Because it is our world, and it's our right to know how their decisions affect us.
Welcome back. We're still talking to Professor Viola Onwulire. Honorable Minister, thank you again for your time. Before we leave the issue of women, how can women get more elective positions in the political arena and not wait to be handed appointments?
Yes, well, that's all part of what we're working towards, talking about. That women should believe in themselves. I started with psychological situation or status. When we believe in ourselves that a fellow woman can perform, it will also encourage people to vote. I was talking to one of the ambassadors, and she said in their country that, that herself, she's an ambassador, that she's never voted for a man in her life, because in their country they are made to believe that women can do everything. So from childhood, they've been tutored to just vote, those of them females, to only vote for only females, because females can do better, in these things. And that it has worked for them in their country, and the women actually have not disappointed them. So first of all, the women must prove that they can work hard. And that is why the appointive positions are very important for us. And we thank Mr. President for what he's doing, because those of us who have been so appointed, we must now work hard to restore, or rather to put out some confidence, put in confidence